What's up everybody, my name is Daniel, and in today's lesson we're going to be going through arrays in C++. So basically this is going to be a two-part series where we're going to be going through arrays for beginners in the first lesson, and then in the second lesson we're going to be going through passing arrays as a parameter to functions. Okay, both videos are important and let's get into it. Okay, all right, so before anything I'm actually gonna start by declaring an array, right? So okay, so how do you declare an array? So first you need the data type int. For instance, if we want to declare an array of integers, just bear with me if you don't understand what we're going through, you'll understand as time goes. So and then you now need to write the name of your array. So I'm gonna say r1, that's the name of my array, and then maybe I'll say marks. Okay, maybe it's a student and they need to store their marks, their school marks. Now that's the name of the array, but then to make sure that it is an array we need to have these braces. So these braces symbolize that this is an array and not just a normal variable. Now, but we're not done yet. We actually need to declare a size of the array. So for this video we're just going to say, okay, this array is of the size 3. Okay, so now let me explain exactly what's going on here. So obviously you've worked with arrays, with variables before, and usually how you declare a variable is you'll just say var, and you'll say, okay, it's maybe of the it's an integer type, var, maybe var1, that's the name of your variable, and then you'll do something like var1 is equals to 3, for instance. Basically what happens is that in memory there's a little box that's created and it's titled var1, and because you said that var1 is equals to 3, then 3 gets added to this box. If you go ahead and do something else and say var2 is equals to 4, then similarly another box is created which is titled var2, and in that 4 is inserted. Okay, so this is not new, you obviously know this. Now with arrays, however, so for instance, if you wanted to have a list of these things, like a whole lot, you needed a lot of variables that store numbers, maybe marks of students, or maybe you wanted to store the dates of birth for your patients, maybe in a program that is built for a hospital, and you needed a whole lot of variables, you can imagine how tedious that could get. So a solution is something called an array, right? So an array is basically a long list where if we were to declare and say, okay, I want the array to be type of integer and my array 1 must be okay, that's a mistake for me. So maybe array 1, I wanna have it of the size 5, right? Basically what happens is that in memory a whole list like this is created, and 1 2 3 4 5, okay, 1 2 3 4 5, okay, so in this is a whole, this represents memory. Okay, now so 1 2 3 4 5, and then this will be, we won't use this one. So and in this array, this is basically the declaration. So 5 spaces are reserved for whatever information that you want to put inside. So for instance, if I were to say, you know what, in my array 1, the actual first value, I need to set that to maybe 1. This represents, this is the memory address, 0, this is the index 0, this is the index 1, index 2, index 3, index 4. So basically if I want to store 1 in the first index, which is the index of 0, 1 will be inserted here. And similarly, if I were to say array 1 and I want to store inside the index 3 and I want to store 100, then basically 0 1 2 3, I would store 100. The 100 would be stored in this index. So this is helpful because basically you can just you can loop through all the items in an array, extract all the information that you want, and do some form of operations with an array. Okay, instead of declaring a lot of variables. Now we're just gonna demonstrate everything right here. Okay, so we have marks, which is an array of 3 that takes 3 values, but there's nothing inside of marks. Okay, so let's insert values inside of marks. So how you can insert values programmatically is I can just start by saying marks, just like how we did. Index 0, which is the first index, I can store 100. Okay, I made a mistake here, so I'm just gonna copy this and I'm gonna keep pasting it over here. So this one I wanna say 200, this one I wanna say 300. This is the index 1, this is the index 2. So this is basically the array. Now notice, like I said again, arrays start at index 0, so it doesn't start at 1. So if you leave this one out, you've basically not initialized the first value of your array, so that will be returned now, right? So this is the beginning of your array, and basically index 2 would be the last index in your array, okay, not 3. So these are 3 values, and let's now print out these values. So I can see out, I can just say, if I want to print maybe the first value in the array, I can just say marks, which is my array. I can just go and say, okay, you know what, I want to print out marks 0, okay, which is the first index in my array, and as you see 100 is being printed out, okay. And similarly, if I were to print out 2, same thing, you'd get 300, and obviously was that okay, there we go. Similarly, if I were to print out, you get the idea. Okay, so this is the second one. Could also print out this one as well. So you guys get the idea. Now you don't want to have to keep calling these numbers individually, 0, 1, 2. What you want to do is use a loop if you wanted to go through the entire array and print out all the values inside the array. Okay, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to create a for loop. Okay, so I'm going to say for, I'm going to go for integer I is equals to 0, I is smaller than marks. Actually, I'm going to say 3, okay, because I know the size of the array. Okay, so I wanted to loop 3 times, and then I'm going to increment I like that, and then I'm going to see out, and I'm going to say marks, I'm going to say I, and I'm going to say end line. Okay, so I want to print out. So this is how you print out. I'll explain what this I basically does in a second. So let's just see if it actually works first, and there we go, we get 100, 200, and 300. Now to explain the I here, so this is a normal for loop, right? And what's going on here is that in the for loop, marks, okay, what actually happens in the for loop? I is 1, right? I starts at 1, I then goes over, becomes 2, and then I goes over and becomes 3, and so on and so forth. So because of this, if I print out marks I, which is 1, starts off at 1, then this would be printed out. Actually, it starts off at 0. I starts off at 0, and then goes over to 1, and then goes over to 2. Sorry about that. Yes, the index starts at 0, goes to 1, goes to 2, right? So if this goes to 0, starts off at 0, what gets printed out? Mark 0 gets printed out, which is 100, and then it goes over to 1, and then this will get printed out, and then it goes over to 2, and then this lastly will get printed out. Okay, so that's basically it. So that's how you loop through an array, and that explains why we use marks I. And I could be any variable. We could have used j, we could have used k, we could have used any variable that you wanted, but I is what we usually use in for loops. It's like the convention. So that's basically how you loop through an array. That's how you traverse an array. Okay, let's write a little program that inserts values into marks, and then we'll write another piece of code that loops through it. Okay, so I'll leave this out. I'll leave this here for now. Yes, I'll leave this here for now. So let's actually insert values into the array. Into an array. right? And we're going to do that by asking the user to insert values. So I'm going to say for, I'm going to write another for loop. This time I'm going to use k, int k is equals to 0, k is smaller than 3, k increment. Okay, so I'm going to say, I'm going to actually start off by asking the user to insert values. I'm going to say cout, please insert 3 values. Okay, and then in here I'm going to say cin cin marks I. Remember, we want whatever value that they insert. This is supposed to be k. We need whatever values that they insert to go directly into marks, and marks's incrementer value. Okay, so basically the first value goes into marks 0, second one goes into marks 1, third value goes into marks 2, and then this array gets populated with 3 values. And then after that we're gonna write cout your values are like that, and then we're going to print out all the values that are inside of marks. Okay, let's run that program and see if it actually works. There we go. It says please insert 3 values. I'm going to say 20, I'm going to pass in 40, and I'm going to pass in maybe 190, enter, and then it says your values are. There we go. So I hope you guys understand. If you don't really quite understand, just go through this again, go through this piece of code again, and just try and play around with it, try and break things, and it'll start making sense sooner or later. But for now, I want to show you guys how you can, different ways of declaring an array. This is not the only way. So we can also go and declare an array. Maybe let's just say prices, right? Maybe prices are of the type floats, right? So I would say float, and I would say prices, and this is an array, and say I already know the prices that I want to declare, right? So I can just use these curly braces over here, or before that I need to state the size. Let's say it's 5, the size for this is 5, and what are the prices? So maybe it's 3 rand 4 cents, 5 rand 6 cents, maybe 10 rand 4 cents, maybe 100 rand for 100.3 cents, for example. 1 2 3 4. As you can see, we only have 4 values here. This I think the compiler won't cry about it, but that means that there's a space that's missing here. Okay, so let's just fill that up. 20.7. so these are all our prices, and obviously we can change certain things. Okay, so for example, if I were to print cout, nearly said print. If I were to print, cout, which is print, if I were to print out prices value 2, for instance, what do you think will be printed out here? So if your answer is 10.4, then you're correct. This will print out 10.4. Okay, so but then let's say I were to now say those prices, and then I were to change this to prices 2 is now equals to 1,000. Okay, and then I were to try and print this out again, prices 2. What ends up happening is that this won't now print out 10.4 anymore. It'll now print out 1,000. Okay, so that's how you change values. Okay, so we went through declaring values, declaring arrays, right? We went through changing values in an array, and we went through inserting values in an array, and also traversing an array, like going through each and every single individual element and printing out the elements that is inside of the array. Okay, the only other thing that I'll show you is like characters and strings. So I'll just declare string over here, include string. Okay, and I can declare an array of strings as well. I can say string, and I can say names, maybe that's the name of my array, and maybe it has the size of 2. Okay, let's just say I only want 2 people, and yeah, I can, similarly to the first one, I can just say, okay, the first name is Daniel and the other name is John. Okay, and this is completely legal. This is an array of strings. And similarly, we can have an array of characters as well. I would just change the type here. It's as simple as changing the type. I would say my character array maybe takes 2 values. And remember, strings and characters are different in the sense that you need single braces for these. So I'll say K, and then the other one, it will be maybe P or something, I don't know. So this has been a video about arrays. If you like the video, please like if you're on YouTube, and subscribe as well. And then the next video will be about passing arrays into functions as a parameter. Okay, so I'll see you guys in the next video. Good boy.